Welcome back everyone to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast, and this time we're gonna have a freebie free on, of course, the End Forest. God damn it, this map. Anyway, it is gonna be on the balance patch 1.3 version, the December balance preview. So far, actually, I've only read the patch notes once, so I've actually got no idea as to how it's going to be. And yeah, I basically already forgot everything that it does, so it's going to be a bit of a learning experience for us both. Now, on the Axis side, we're going to have Jesper playing as the Wehrmacht. We're going to have Rihansu as the Wehrmacht as well, and Blackout as the OKW. On the opposing side, there is Ted playing as the Soviets, Viper as the Brits, and Ulumulu as the Soviets. So, it's going to be Lee and Forest, of course. I'm guessing there's no map changes. I haven't seen anything about those. So let's just follow this right on. Now, interesting play from Ted. He's going to be sending up his conscripts and his engineers up to the center. So the Allies look to be very, very much focused on going for the center. The Germans are going for, well, a Kübelwagen, and Blackout is just sending some of his guys. He's clearly expecting somebody to come here and cap the point. He's actually hiding his engineers in a very, very smart location. But the first engagement is going to be happening in the southern flank of the map. We're going to have this infantry section actually getting basically blocked off from the buildings by both grenadiers and the MG42. But of course, they're going to be able to get into this building, and from this, they're going to get probably, gunned away by the mortar, which is in an interesting position. And yeah, even more MGs, so this infantry section really needs to go away. Get out of that building as much as possible. Right now, yeah, it seems like the Allies are just kind of swarming all over, and other than this, infantry section, they're going to be able to basically win every engagement. And even this sort of contingent is really distracting a lot of German forces. Mostly just this, these two MG42s, the mortar, and of course grenadiers, so there's quite a lot of stuff. On the center we see the Kübelwagen just trying to do some stuff, but not really going to be too useful. Universal Carrier comes in, and it is going to be able to probably force away the Kübelwagen. Okay. I believe the Kübelwagen actually got nerfed a little bit, so we'll see if it can kind of stack up to its former greatness. Unfortunately, the Universal Carrier also takes a little bit of fire from the front of these Grenadiers, and also I think the Universal Carrier also got nerfed, because that was a lot of damage that these Volksgrenadiers just did to the frontal armor of that Universal Carrier. On the left-hand side, the Germans are pushing up quite relentlessly. They've got a couple of machine guns that have been setting up and doing damage to the conscripts, and the conscripts are coming in from the flank. They've already got Molotovs, because Molotovs are cheaper. They're 80 and 10 fuel as opposed to 120 and 15, I believe they were. So they're going to be able to come in and do quite well in this building environment where the Molotovs are going to be pretty okay at dislodging enemies from buildings. It's not going to be enough, though, because right now, as you can see, this machine gun's doing quite well, pinning up this conscript squad. The second conscript squad tries to throw a Molotov, but it gets wiped out by the Pioneers as it does so. So that was a very bad mistake by Lumulu. Gets this conscript squad wiped for no real reason. Right now, as you can see, this mortar spam that Rihansu is going for, and of course also Jesper has the mortar as well, is really doing a number on the Allies, and the Allies are going to need to find some way to counter all this. Perhaps Viper with the Royal Artillery Regiment will have something to, something to say about that. Perhaps he's going to go for a mortar pit, but at the same time, he spent most of his manpower on a sniper. Maybe not the best choice. We do see a PM41 mortar from Ted, and Ted also has the 120mm from Shock Army, so he's going to be able to go for that later. At the same time, he's trying to push up with a Maxim on the right side, and it's working. Also trying to push up with some conscripts in the center, and that's not working at all because of these Volksgrenadiers. Getting a few nice volleys off on the conscripts, and yeah, just kind of trying to keep them away as much as possible from the vital resource points in the forest. That's not going to be all that effective if the MG comes in and captures the VP. But overall, yeah, it seems like the Germans have a pretty big advantage. They've got a triple cap set up, and yeah, I don't really see how the Allies can kind of break this. Ted is not not happy about Ulumulu's life choices. Well, I mean, he does have 4 conscript squads, so I wonder if he's going to be able to do anything with those. I mean, he hasn't built any tiers yet, so yeah, he's going to go for just pure conscript spam. And here comes the Molotov. Does get a little bit of damage off on those grenadiers. Sends them right back to Germany, and you know, with basically no HP. Right now, the sniper in the center starting to pick off some German troops manning these mortars, and the mortars, being kind of attacked directly, are gonna be forced to flee. Also, the other mortar is gonna flee, and the left is gonna be captured by the allies. There's a lot of trash talk coming in from these allied players. They should probably just focus on playing right now. Very, very toxic of them. And yeah, right now, whoa. Storm Doctrine. Yeah, Jesper going with the Storm Doctrine, which didn't seem to get too many changes. I mean, there's the ambush camouflage, the anti-tank Regel mine, which is actually a very strong little anti-tank mine. Tactical movement, LDFH, no, it's basically the same. Yeah, the camouflage is actually very strong on these MGs, because when you come out of the camouflage, yeah, now he's gonna have to retreat from the Molotov, of course. Yeah, the Molotov's being quite useful for Ulumulu. So basically that camouflage is actually very decent, because you can just kind of put it on your MGs, and you put your MGs in cover, you get them on hold fire, and then when they show up and they're close, they get a damage boost, of course, once you reveal your guys, because it's like an ambush effect. So that's why you go with the extra munitions that you spend for the ambush camouflage. You just kind of wait on that. It's even better if you have the incendiary armor piercing rounds, because of course that's also gonna allow you to deal more damage to just light vehicles, and you know, just kind of burst them down as quickly as possible. In the meantime, I mean, I wouldn't say cons are OP. Like, I mean, right now the Grenadiers, once they do get that LMG 42, they're gonna be able to win against the conscripts regardless of the buffs. I mean, yeah, they're doing okay, especially from the building, but I mean, it's not like, oh damn, that was great. It's not like anything that they couldn't do before, and that was a 120mm. Absolutely fantastic wipe from that 120mm. Right now, it just seems like the Germans are just kind of overrunning the right side, whereas the Allies are coming through on the left. Right now, yeah, that Universal Carrier Wasp is gonna be a pain in the rear for these not Panzer Grenadiers, these Volksgrenadiers. We're gonna need to find some way to deal with that, and that way would be the Raketenwerfer. Of course, right now comes in very close to being in range, trying to bait in the Universal Carrier with the Grenadiers, not really working out, but that was a good attempt at least. Right now, nice flank from these Panzer Grenadiers, gets behind into the mortars, and that's exactly what you want to do with these units. Very strong. Destroys one of the mortars. Second mortar is in trouble because of these conscripts being so very close to these Panzer Grenadiers, and as you can see, they're being massacred by the STG-44s at close range. Conscripts buffs, not really OP enough to deal with that, it seems. And right now, the Panzer Grenadiers at close to medium range are going to be very, very effective against the conscript spam. Also, more mortars coming in. This time, they're German ones. The mortar crew over here, the 120mm, is only saved by the fact that it's a 120mm mortar, which allows it to have one guy, but of course he eventually gets destroyed. Anti-tank gun on the field for Viper, but not going to be enough. Viper is also going for a command post over here, the company command post, so he's going to be able to go with perhaps a Cromwell or a Centaur. Right now a Centaur will be very effective with what the Germans are going for, which isn't a lot of vehicles at all. And rips shock troops. Shock troops are dead for Ted. Ted is down to one machine gun and another machine gun with less guys. So it's not really going all that well for him. He needs some extra units, to say the least. He was the guy with the mortars over here, and right now, because of that loss, he's going to be in trouble. I wonder if the 120mm, yeah, the 120mm got recrewed. No, that's actually a fresh one. That's a fresh one from Ulumulu. And the 120 might have been stolen by the Germans. God damn it! People just keep, you know, entering games, and so I can't see anything. Yep, it got stolen by the Germans. That's a very, very good pickup. Right now, yeah, there is a infrared half track, which is a very good choice because it's going to spot for the mortars. So of course that's always a very, very nice unit to get on the field. It's cheap, it's effective. It just gives you a lot of utility that you wouldn't normally have. And there goes the cube wagon, most likely from a mine. Or maybe from the anti-tank gun? Yes, from the anti-tank gun. More attempts at a push from the allies gonna fail because of these pioneers and these engineers. But yeah, overall, just not the best position to be in if you're the allies. They've still got a double cap right now, but they're gonna need to find some way to break through this kind of defensive line that the Germans have set up. And with the loss of those 2 mortars, I'm not quite sure how they're gonna do that. Oh, there goes the mortar. And right now, these infantry sections are definitely going to die. They need to run away. Oh no, it's gonna be a wipe.
Infantry section wiped out.
So I like how I really like how Blackout is playing right now. He's got his side kind of locked down, and now he's trying to pull in some extra supportive units to help out his allies on the left-hand side, which is really what you should do whenever you win your side. And right now, Jesper has gone for a 222 Scott car. A little bit late, I mean, at 11 minutes, with anti-tank guns already on the field. Perhaps that was not the best choice, and right now he's feeling the pain from the 6-pounder, of course. Rihansu he's upgrading the phase 2, so he could go with tier 3. I feel like at this point it would be wise of him, because he's only got 4 CPs, and his ally doesn't seem to be showing any sights of tiers. I mean, he's going for the tier 3, but I'm not sure if he's paying attention to that, so I'm not sure if he knows the ally actually has tier 3. So overall, if I was Rihansu right now, I would think about how I would progress forward, and the tier 3 would seem like a very, very good idea, because, well, he needs a Panzer IV or something to just be able to push back these allies and just kind of be an all-around unit. Right now, he's also, well, that's actually Blackout. He's pushing up with the Volksgrenadiers, getting a little bit bombarded by the base artillery from the Brits. And of course, we see that was an airburst shell, so that means, of course, Anvil Tactics. Anvil Tactics means some Churchills, but he goes for the Centaur first. So he was trying to, just trying to get the concentration barrage with the airburst shells, just to be as annoying as possible, I guess. Although I don't think that was a great idea, because right now we see that there's 2 Wehrmachts. I mean, the Wehrmachts aren't going to be all that campy in the early to mid game. They're going to be more campy in the late game, whereas the OKW generally is the one that goes for a lot of the just kind of turtling around one area with just kind of trucks and all in the early mid game. So if I were facing the OKW and it was the Brits, maybe I would consider an early upgrade to the, of course, Anvil Tactics. But against Wehrmacht, hey, it's not going to really do all that much. I mean, especially considering that for some reason he hasn't rebuilt any of his infantry sections, which would be a good idea, because it would give him an extra way to throw down some base artillery with, the infantry section artillery flare upgrades, which is cheaper than the concentration barrage. So I don't know, that's kind of my thought on that. But hey, Germans pushing through the center, and once again, as kind of expected, they're recapturing all their points. Here comes some more saturation from the British artillery, not really doing anything at the 120mm mortar, but the infrared is still working. It's still working its map hacks in the favor of the Germans, so that's not very good. Unfortunately, the Pioneers stay in the artillery barrage, so they take a little bit of damage. I mean, the German defensive line just seems very solid. I don't see how the Allies are going to break through all of this, at least right now. I mean, even more raids coming through from the German infantry. Those are going to get repulsed by the Centaur, it seems, the Centaur and all the other units. And in fact, one of the Grenadiers got wiped, so that's a very, very good little pickup for the Allies. I mean, the Germans really need to be careful with their infantry. At this point, they're starting to get their units leveled up a little bit, and they want to keep that veterancy alive as much as possible, especially considering that the Allies are really starting to load up on the anti-infantry. As you can see, Centaurs, artillery, snipers, 2 snipers for Viper, and Ulumulu, of course, with the Dushka machine guns and the 120mm mortars. He's actually gone defensive tactics, which is ugh. That's kind of what I think about that. Right now, I mean, he's using a lot of 120mm and Dushka heavy machine guns. He's also managed to steal an MG42. Of course, that's not really related to the doctrine, but, I mean, it's fine. Right now, he's in an okay spot, and he's going to be even more okay once he gets some tanks out, which he's not doing right now. I mean, he's got the regimental field headquarters basically with all the upgrades, but he hasn't, you know, decided to spend any, right now. He's just pushing through the conscripts, and thanks to the lack of anti-infantry defenses of the Germans, and especially due to the lack of vehicles, I mean, where are the Panzer IVs, Rihansu? Like, you have 224 fuel, you want to go for a Panzer IV. Jesper is going for a Tier 4 and a Panzerwerfer. That's understandable, and right now, for some reason, he hasn't gone for flame projectors on his STKFZ half-track. I mean, he wanted to use it for reinforcements, but clearly it's not working. Clearly he should have gone for extra anti-infantry with the flame projectors. Right now, Su-85 is actually on the field for Ted, so he's going to be bringing up the anti-tank. And the Centaur is still pushing up basically relentlessly, even though it's got a damaged engine, destroying yet another anti-tank gun, and also doing quite a lot of damage to these Grenadiers. But the Grenadiers are going to be able to get close and get a Panzerfaust off. They retreat for some reason, even though they could have gotten a last finishing Panzerfaust off at that point. They also get wiped by the 120mm mortar. And yeah, overall, things aren't going all that badly for the Allies. It seems like they're getting a lot of victories in. So that's how they're going to be able to, you know, that's how they're going to be able to win against the German defensive line. I mean, combination of getting vehicles earlier, even though the Axis had the, you know, fuel advantage, and the Axis just kind of not really playing their hand well when it comes to the infantry. Right now, they're using their Panzer Grenadiers, so Jesper definitely doing quite well with his Panzer Grenadiers, destroying the Su-85. That's a very, very nice, valuable pickup because, of course, 125 fuel. Wait, is it still 125 fuel? 130 fuel. And yeah, that's not gonna go down. That would be very, very sad for these Panzer Grenadiers. Yep, they're out of range. That's very unlucky. Right now, the right side is still uncontested. The Axis is really getting dealt a free hand over here. I mean, if the Allies were to send just a couple of units over here to just kind of at least, you know, occupy the Germans and make them know that the enemy is coming there and, you know, force them to send some more stuff over here, that would be quite good for the Allies. I mean, it would distract them from, or it would distract the Germans from all that is happening around the center, which would be undoubtedly quite good. But oh well. Panther is back on the field. Well, Panther is on the field for Blackout. Of course, Blackout is really the strongest player on the German team. He's got a very solid lineup of units. However, right now, he's not really picked any doctrines. What would be really good for him would be the Sturm Tiger. Right now, the Sturm Tiger would be doing excellent against the Conscript Blobs. Conscript Blobs are definitely vulnerable to that, and it would synergize quite well with the infrared half-track, because you can just kind of plop it down behind a line of sight blocker, by it I mean the Sturm Tiger, and use the line of sight provided by the infrared half-track to just kind of aim while you're unseen. That is really a tactic that is quite effective, especially considering how many mortars and AT guns and machine guns the Allies have set up around this area. It would be quite good. And right now the Allies have also gone for a map pack unit, which is the Valentine. And right now the Axis is just kind of losing on engagements. I mean, they're losing on engagement because they don't really seem to use their resources as effectively as they could. Rihansu has, or rather had, 300 fuel and decided to go for a Stug instead of going for a Tier 4. Of course, the Stug did get nerfed, so he's definitely trying that out. But, I mean, if I was him, I would have definitely gone for some Panzerwerfers, or if I had seen, of course, that my ally was going for a Panzerwerfer, aka Jesper. What happened to your Panzerwerfer, Jesper? You used to have a Panzerwerfer, or at least you were building one. You lost it somehow. How's that possible? I have no idea. Oh well, yeah, so he lost his Panzerwerfer. They need some artillery, absolutely. I mean, they're getting out artillery by the Allies. At this point with the Panther and the Stug, they definitely have enough anti-tank to deal with their vehicles. But with the amount of mortars there on the field, and of course the Katyusha coming in from TED, the Axis definitely needs some artillery to counter all of this. And that's also kind of why I would like the Sturm Tiger, because the Sturm Tiger does work as a blob wiper. So it just kind of removes some of your needs for artillery. Nice smoke grenade coming through from the shock troops, but Blackout is paying attention. Pulls back the machine gun. And might be able to actually set it up back in time, although the shock troops are in a decent position. They could have just kind of charged through, you know. Yeah, that's a bit of a mistake from them. But I guess they were just interested in capping. Right now, ooh, unfortunate that, yeah, that is definitely more damage coming through from the conscripts because of the LMG-42 and the Vet-3. And yeah, they're going to be able to destroy that 120mm mortar. Actually destroying it, I thought they would be able to steal it, which would have been quite great, but oh well. I mean, at this point, the Allies do have enough artillery to go around to counter the German infantry. And right now, they also have this Su-85 back once again from TED. It might be able to do something to help out, you know, the Allied anti-tank efforts, but with all this kind of Stug, Panther nonsense, if I were the Allies, I would, you know, kind of focus on anti-infantry, because right now the Axis vehicles are really focused on anti-vehicle roles. It's Panthers, Stugs, etc., etc. It's not really much of a danger to your infantry, so going for Su-85s is kind of, you know, yeah, it's okay. It can keep the Panther at bay, etc., etc. It can defend the Katyushas, etc. But you can do that with anti-tank guns as well. If I were them, I would definitely go with some anti-infantry. So of course the Centaur is pretty good. There goes a nice anti-tank grenade. Unfortunately the Stug is probably going to go down from that Su-85. There it goes. Conscripts crying in, but they're not going to really be able to get in another anti-tank grenade that's going to be able to do too much. I mean, the anti-tank grenade there wouldn't have been followed up by any of these units, so that's kind of sad. And yeah, if, for example, I were Viper, I would go with a Churchill right now. A Churchill would be very, very strong because he needs a heavy tank that can just kind of take damage, and Churchill is very, very strong against infantry thanks to that 3-inch gun, and of course the... Ooh, he went for a... I was about to say a priest. But no, it's a sexton. So he went for a sexton. That's an okay choice. I mean, the Allies do already have a lot of artillery on the field, so I'm not, you know, 100% on that. I would have preferred some extra anti-infantry from the Churchill, but perhaps the sexton got changed in a way that I don't know, so he's trying, you know, he's trying it out. Maybe, I don't know. The cost is basically the same. We're gonna see if the effectiveness is better. I mean, the priest is always just kind of on the lower end of effectiveness when it comes to self-propelled guns, so it would definitely be nice to see a buff, and right now it doesn't seem like it's any more accurate than it used to be. T-34-76 is on the field, and that definitely got changed. It got a pretty decent nerf from 300 manpower and 80 fuel to 300 manpower and 90 fuel cost. So of course that is going to reduce the amount of T-34-76s that you see, and conversely increase the value of the T-34-85 a little bit, at least. T-34-85s, of course, aren't available to any of these players, but hey. Ooh, here comes the grenade. It's a smoke. I mean, an anti-personnel grenade against those guys would definitely wipe them out, so that's kind of sad. And we have a Jagdpanzer IV coming through from Blackout. That did get some changes, but I don't remember which. So we have the LAFH artillery actually from Jesper. I didn't see that yet. It is firing, and it's got 13 kills already, so it's definitely doing some stuff. I'm guessing it's going to fire around here. And right now, the Soviets are just kind of going all in on these Su-85s. I feel like it's a bit of a mistake. I mean, despite the nerfs to the T-34-76s, considering what the Germans are going for, going more T-34-76s would be pretty okay. I mean, there's a lot of Panthers around, so having a couple of Su-85s is already enough, along with anti-tank guns, to try to at least keep them at bay. So maybe a couple of T-34-76s would be in, you know, would be kind of what the doctor ordered, just to deal with the infantry, at least a little bit more. As you can see, Rihansu and Blackout have some pretty substantial infantry forces, and because of that, the Axis is able to just kind of continue pressuring around the map and getting their map control up, even though they've been losing most of their engagements throughout the game. And it would be kind of nice if the Allies were able to deal with that a little bit more. And right now they're not able to, but they seem pretty content to be able to just kind of hold their 50% plus 1 line. 50% plus 1 is in just kind of at the half mark of the map. They're holding all the points there, and they're kind of like, okay, that's fine, that's already enough. It's not enough. I mean, with the Allies, you want to win earlier, and it's interesting how he said, Arty spammers, there's only 1 artillery piece for Jesper right now. He's lost his Panzerwerfer, and he's got a LEFH gun, whereas the Allies, I mean, they've got, like, what, how many mortars? Okay, so already 1 mortar from him. He's got a Sexton. He's got, of course, also the off-map artillery, or I guess you could say base artillery. There's another mortar here, and there's a Katyusha here. So the Allies are definitely the ones with artillery superiority right now. So it's kind of interesting that we saw that interesting talk. I don't know, weird. Okay, so actually the Panther got buffed. Well, it's at least cheaper. It used to be 200 fuel. Now it's 185. Damn. Well, I'm not 100% sure on that change, actually. Depends on whether or not the stats were nerfed. I mean, getting cheaper Panthers is actually very, very strong. I mean, people go for Panthers anyway. Here comes a nice ram. It's going to immobilize that Panther, or rather, both the T-3476 and stun the Panther. And the Panther's taking huge, huge damage from the Su-85. There goes the Panther. Very good job. Sherman Firefly is on the field for Viper. That's a very, very good purchase, considering how many Panthers are being put on the field. I guess an extra bit of AT would be nice. I mean, I know I was just kind of bashing the Su-85s, but the Firefly is just so much better than the Su-85 that's just kind of okay. I mean, especially once you start to upgrade some tulip rockets. Although, I mean, Viper, going with the artillery doctrine, will not have a lot of munitions to spare for extra, tulip rockets, but that's fine. And yeah, right now, Sturm Officer, so that means Jagdtiger later on. That might be dangerous. Okay. So here comes the Katyusha. That's gonna save the T-3476 from being destroyed by the those Panzerschreck troops. Don't remember which ones were. Damn. So here comes a lot of airstrikes from the Germans, also assault artillery. So the Germans are trying to just kind of push in, and they're doing some good damage. I mean, they managed to take out T-34, I believe. Yeah, they managed to take out the T-34. They've got a few units just kind of on lockdown, but nice flank from this other T-3476. Gonna get into the rear of this Panther. I'm not sure what it's trying to do over here. Actually, no, just kind of avoiding the anti-tank gun, very nicely dancing around it. And the T-3476 is going to be able to get into the rear of the Panther, just kind of circle strafing it and destroying the Panther. Very well played by Ted, getting the kill on that much more expensive vehicle with just a puny T-3476. And right now the Germans are not in a good way, especially considering the armor superiority that the Allies are really quickly accumulating. Ululumu doesn't have that much, but he's also gone for a Katyusha. So right now, yeah, Ululumu. Oh no, that's not a good idea. So he stuns up the Jagdpanzer IV, but I mean, there's nothing that is able to actually follow up on that. So that's kind of unlucky. I mean, well, unlucky and also very, very much rash. I mean, he just wasted a T-3476, but the Jagdpanzer stays here. So that is gonna allow the other T-3476 and the Firefly to get in close and destroy it, along with the support of the Su-85. Let's see if this... Nah, of course it doesn't survive. Maybe the T-3476 might go down in response, but no, Panzerfaust coming through from these Volksgrenadiers means that it is able to escape. Stuckfree comes back around and manages to get some shots in, but it's not going to be enough. Here comes a Brumbear from Rihansu. That's a pretty good choice. Needs to be able to deal with those conscripts, but at this point, with 2 Stugs, I feel like, yeah, he's not going to be at a good way against the enemy armor, and that's already kind of showing through. He manages to take out one of the Su-85s at least, but he loses one of his Stugs, and right now he's also kind of getting popped in by that Veteran C2 Su-85, which is, of course, very, very dangerous. Right now, here comes some airstrikes from the allies as well as the artillery. They're going to be able to deal quite a bit of damage. There's a demo charge over here. Let's see if it's going to be detonated. Of course, there's a timer now on the demo charges, but maybe that's going to be enough to save the unit. Yeah, it will. So, of course, more balanced, but also a lot worse. I mean, it's basically a nerf in effectiveness by, like, I guess, like 90%. Like, you're not going to get wipes anymore, which was most of the value of demo charges, but the cost is only reduced by, like, 25 munitions, I believe. It's from 90 to 65. So it's actually like less than a 30%, 33% reduction in cost for a very, very, very high drop in effectiveness. I'm not, you know, too much of a fan of that nerf. I mean, of course, the demo charge did need some nerfs, but perhaps instead of like, I don't know, instead of a 3.5 second timer, it would have been better to like just pull in a maybe 2-second timer, because if you think about it, like grenades do have the option of wiping out squads, and they do wipe out squads quite a bit of, you know, time. They need the enemy to be very, very clumped up, but they can wipe out squads, and they're very, very cheap compared to 65 munitions. I mean, usually grenades are like 30 munitions. And then satchel charges, which is what that timer was kind of modeled after. Satchel charges have 3.5 seconds of time to explode as well. I mean, satchel charges are also like, what, 45? Either 35 or 45 munitions. So it's not like, you know... Shut up. It's not like you need to pay 65 munitions to throw a satchel charge. And also, satchel charge, you can kind of throw it and, you know, dynamically choose where it goes. Whereas the demo charge, you plant it down and then it doesn't move. So I guess the satchel charge is also more, you know, versatile. I don't know. It's just kind of weird, in my opinion. Although there is to say that since this demo charge is hidden until it is detonated, you know, you can kind of have a bigger surprise effect into people that are not expecting it compared to the satchel charge. Whereas the satchel charge, most likely you're going to be hitting people that are looking at that engagement because it's an active engagement and their enemy is expecting that. Very nice point-blank range, by the way, by that howitzer. Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to be talking about things about the patch whenever I have the chance, of course. Whereas, of course, things about the game, you can just kind of see what is happening right now. Yeah, basically that's what I think. Like, if you were to nerf the demo charge, I guess what would be better is just a 2.5 second timer for a 65 munitions price, because, yeah, sure, it can wipe out an enemy unit in a pretty decent area, but, like, especially if it even gives, like, a warning to the enemy, like, for example, if a booby trap is popped, what that reminds me of is actually, like, Company of Heroes 1 booby traps for the PE. When you went Scorched Earth tactics, you got to be, you know, you got the ability to, like, booby trap buildings, so you could, like, send a unit in, booby trap the building, and then when an enemy unit got in, it would, like, pop the booby trap, and it would, you know, give the enemy, like, I don't know, 2.5 seconds of time before the booby trap exploded and, like, you know, burned everyone alive. And it would play a sound for the enemy player, as well as give them, like, you know, this kind of warning. So you can just kind of, like, hear the cluck of the booby trap exploding, and then you're just kind of pressing space to, you know, press space to just jump to the nearest event. And then, you know, you could be able to quickly micro your guys out of the building. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. So they could, you know, reduce the time, but also give a warning of that kind. I'm not sure if it does already give a warning of that kind, but it would be interesting. Viper, for some reason, went for a Bofors over here. I guess he's able to use that to defend, but there's a lot of obstacles in here, and he's also got a Valentine and a Centaur. I mean, he's in a pretty good spot there. He's also got a Stolen Pack and a Firefly. Like, he's not going to lose this area to anything, basically, unless all of the Germans come descend upon him, which isn't going to happen. He's also got a 6-pounder, so he's very, very well protected over here on the left side. In the center, we have Ululumu, who's got quite a lot of, you know, quite a good defensive line. And right now, yeah, you can see he's got a demo charge set up over here. And right now, ooh, nice. That's very, very good. Loses the T-34-76, but destroys the artillery piece. That is a worth trade. Actually, tanks are very, very strong at dealing with artillery pieces. At some point, they just kind of switched around the priorities. Like, it used to be that it only dealt damage to the crew without doing damage to the gun, and then you'd have to separately, after you killed the crew, kill the gun by attack moving the gun. Now it actually just kind of damages the gun right off the bat. I'm not sure which patch changed it. It was definitely at least the last one, because I've already seen this in other replays. But yeah, it's very appreciated. Right now there's a Jagdtiger on the field. That was very, very much anticipated. And the Jagdtiger did get some nerfs, I think, because, I mean, the Jagdtiger needs nerfs. Like, it's actually just very, very strong. But, I mean, the Jagdtiger is always going to do well. It's pretty strong. Especially against Su-85s. Su-85s are just, like, very, very weak to the Jagdtiger. If it just kind of parks itself in a good spot, it gets some line of sight. It can just very easily, at maximum range, snipe at the Su-85s. And the Su-85s really can't retaliate at that range. The Su-85s need to be much closer to deal with damage to the Jagdtiger. And right now, the Axis aren't done yet. I mean, they've been starting to lose a little bit more in the last few minutes, but they've got a few good things going for them. They've still got a decent infantry force. Jesper, not quite so much, but the other guys do have. Of course, they need to be afraid of these Katyushas and not blob as much. Which, I mean, it's always something that you need to do. Yeah, I mean, you're really good. You need to not blob your Grenadiers. If you had advanced one unit, like, you don't even need to, like, do anything particularly complex. If you have 3 units of Grenadiers, you take one and you put it over here. You take one and you put it over here. You take one and you put it over here. And you already, you know, are very, very much safer when it comes to getting hit by artillery. You're not going to get wiped 100% on your blob. You might get one squad wiped, but hey. And actually, I'm going to just select the Germans. Just to see if, you know, the, like, sound plays. Oh, that's gonna be great. No! The T-34-76 almost just completely wiped out that squad with a ram. And right now, yeah, the Germans, of course, are just kind of using their Jagdtiger to snipe away at tanks. That's exactly why I like the Jagdtiger. And, oh, right now, there's also a Tiger on the field from Rihansu. So very, very late, but the Germans have managed to get their heavies on the field. So at this point, it's when the Germans are gonna be really, really shining. I mean, always. It was always that way. Company of Heroes 2, so nothing really too strange from the balance patch. And yeah, the Germans are just going to be in a pretty good spot right now. There comes the Panther, destroys the T-34-76 right now. It's also going to get fired at by these 2 Su-85s, which means that it should probably retreat as quickly as possible. There is also the support of a second Panther, so perhaps these 2 Panthers, I mean, it's going to be dangerous because of all the Brits over here, but if perhaps these 2 Panthers could try to, oh god, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea, Valentine. Run. Run away, little Valentine. You're gonna die. You're gonna die, are you, Valentine? No. What are you looking at? You Dumbo. You could have finished off the Valentine. Damn. It would be nice, again, if the 2 Panthers would be able to split off and just flank these Su-85s. And right now, there's an excellent opportunity. Look at these Su-85s. They're just kind of begging for themselves to be flanked from this direction, behind this building. And right now, it's just kind of nice because the Germans, as you can see, are pushing up with their Obersoldaten, who are really, really wrecking the Allied infantry. There comes the flank from the Panthers, destroying one of the Su-85s. And right now, the just kind of anvil from Rihansu working very, very well to just kind of draw in the Su-85, and then the Panthers coming in from the rear. This is kind of enabled by the fact that the Brits are playing so damn defensively that, I mean, the Allies are really 2 against 3 right now. As you can see, there's all 3 German players just kind of concentrated into one area, doing their thing and helping out, whereas the British player is really kind of huddling into his own corner and not really participating right now. So that's pretty bad, especially considering we're in the late game and the Germans are superior to the Allies because of their, of course, amazing late game armor. So finally, the Brits seem to be trying to help, but at this point, it's a little bit too late. I mean, the Panthers are back on track, mostly just repaired, and right now, of course, the other allied forces have been forced away, so it's not really that good. Centaur is in trouble, and the Firefly might be in trouble as well, but nice support coming in from that Pack 40 is going to force away all the Panthers, and that's going to be quite good. However, yeah, it seems like they're going to be able to escape, and there's some more Katyusha barrages, which are going to miss, and I haven't seen the demo charge blow up, but I think it did. Yep, it did blow up. That's kind of sad, probably from the Katyusha barrage. At this point, nice play actually from Viper. Looks like it was from Viper. He pulled in a unit on the right side, captured it, and just left a Cromwell there, which is so random, but I love it actually, because now that he sees that there are some units here, Cromwell is excellent against infantry, especially because of its very, very nice maneuverability. If an enemy vehicle comes in and tries to force it away, it's going to be able to escape. And then, especially because right here it's a forest, so it can kind of just huddle behind some line of sight, just kind of line of sight blocking trees or something. Right now, the Allies can manage this better, however. They need to pull in this machine gun, which has been sitting in here since like minute 2, and use it to help defend the VP. Because right now, the Allies are in a good position when it comes to the VPs. They are basically, they've forced the Germans down to 218 points, which is a very, very nice position to be in, especially if you can continue to pressure over the center, because right now, the Allies have the right side pretty much under wraps, and the left-hand side even more under wraps. They've got the whole British SimCity in this place. So if they can kind of keep this area under lockdown and keep the left side under lockdown, then they just need to just pour everything into the center, trying to at least keep it neutral, and then they're going to be able to neutralize the German VPs quite easily, which is going to also put a lot of pressure into the German, playstyle to be more aggressive and trying to at least neutralize or take one or two of the VPs, which is going to mean that all of their just kind of more defensively minded units, like of course the Jagdtiger, the Stug, and in general their heavy tanks are going to have to be risked in more offensive attacks. And of course that's not going to be all that good for them, because they'd like to sit back, use their superiority when it comes to the late game, just kind of trade well, and eventually attrition out the Allies. But if you can force them otherwise because of their VPs, then that's going to be basically the best thing to do.
Can we shoot something down?
Oh damn, that was a demo charge. Yeah, no, it didn't give me any alerts, it seems. So yeah, what else? Yeah, I think that would be a very nice choice, to change. Instead of 3.5 second timer and 65 munitions, maybe yeah, scale it back to 90 munitions and a 2-second timer, but also give the other player a warning through these events that the thing is happening, and also through a sound. Like for example, you just hear like a big giant, like, I don't know if you've ever like watched those old World War II movies where of course it looks like they're just kind of like blowing up the big stick of dynamite with the big detonator. You just always hear like the clack of the detonator. You can do something like that, which is what they did with the booby traps in Company of Heroes 1. But oh well, this is kind of what I think. Right now, it just kind of seems like the Allies are able to defend their lines quite competently, despite the fact that they shouldn't be able to. Looks like on the right side, the Cromwell got forced away, which is good for the Germans. They might be able to recapture that. Of course, there is the machine gun there. The center is being captured by the Allies, which is great for them, but there's a lot of anti-infantry in the area for the Germans in the form of Blackout's forces. He's got not Panzer Grenadiers, Oberstleutnant and MG34s and Panzer IV, so that's great. Right now there's a flank on the left side. The Panther's trying to help out and at least distract the Allies, but it's not really working. It's going to manage to take out the Centaur because these tank destroyers are really, really retarded in some ways. And they're trying to chase the Panther across the, ring around the Rosy house. But, they're going to get repulsed eventually. They're not going to be able to do too much when it comes to the attack. So the Allies are going to keep their positions pretty much intact. They've got the center neutralized. They've got the right side still under control because of the machine gun. Very nicely played. And right now, ooh, there comes another big, I'm guessing that was a mortar round. Yeah, there's 120mm mortars. Actually, oh damn, this is like heresy. A British 120mm mortar. Oh my lord, that is very, very scary. Anyway, the Katyushas are also doing quite well, as you can see. 7 and 16, so that's 25 kills at least for Ululu's Katyushas. Whereas Ted has lost his Katyusha, but I'm pretty sure his Katyusha also did pretty well, considering how many kills I saw it get in the barrages I witnessed. And right now, the Howitzer's back, and he's in black. Where is it? I have no clue. It was Jesper with the Howitzer. Yes. He's actually... Oh, damn. That's so sad. As soon as I look at it, it gets murdered by the concentration barrage. So it looks like the artillery doctrine is quite as strong as ever. I mean, with that concentration barrage, it is able to just throw it down in the fog of war, I believe. I believe this thing can go in the fog of war, and so that's why it's so damn strong. You can just kind of plop it down anywhere, and yeah, with the concentration barrage, with the anvil tactics, it's also great because the airburst shells, for some reason, are just much more accurate than the rest of the barrage. So you can really, really destroy enemy buildings quite heavily. Even though airburst shells are supposed to be against infantry, they're actually most effective against either weapons or buildings. So that's just kind of what they're used for, and perhaps they deserve a nerf as well. I mean, maybe making the ability more expensive might work, or maybe making the ability less expensive but requiring a direct line of sight would be better, because yeah, overall it's just kind of like oog. Also, yeah, just counter battery in general for the Brits is very, very strong. And so, yeah, the Brits always being the kings of the SimCity. Right now, there's more just kind of attempts for the Germans to push into the left-hand side. There's actually a triple cap going for the Allies, and the Germans need to try something. And right now, as you can see, very good play from Blackout. He's got his Panzer IV and a lot of infantry pushing on the right side. Although this is a big mistake in my opinion, he could have sent his Panzer IV in only one squad here, and then sent everything else to the center, really. I mean, here comes the center push from Rihansu, but it's just not the same. He's got 3 Grenadiers and an MG42, whereas, as you can see, Blackout has just a massive swarm of elite infantry, so he would be in a much better spot to attack the center. And as you can see right now, we already have the attack kind of teetering out for Rihansu. He doesn't have any more units there. Right now, what he could have done is actually pushed in the Stug into the cap circle and used Panzer Tactician, because he does have Spearhead Doctrine. So he could have used that Panzer Tactician to use that, and rather to cover his infantry. Using that, it would have allowed him, you know, to avoid any kind of fire from mortars, machine guns, etc., etc. The Panther over here is trying to hide in a, you know, interesting location. The Firefly does see where it is, and the AT gun also does because of these sappers. And here comes the pack. There it goes. Other Panther destroys something, and it desecrates the corpse, so I have no idea what it destroyed, but its friend, the Su-85, avenges it. In the meantime, in the right side, another attempt to recapture it by the Allies is going to be defeated by these Volksrangers, so that's quite great. And right now, an Su-85 is trying to come in, but it's an ambush, it's a trap. Right now, Admiral Akbar is rolling in his grave. What is... No! Spring the trap! You have Panzer Shreks and, you know, a Panzer IV. Just flank the Su-85. Come! Oh, he's waiting for the Panzerfaust, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to be able to escape. That's not the great flank that you expected, perhaps. And right now, the Germans are down to 48 VPs. With the nice push that they're making in the center, they might be able to do something, but there's a lot of Allied armor in the area. And there's also another Bofors that the British built into the area. So, of course, the British SimCity working basically to defend what the Allies have, along with the support of the Su-85s, are going to force away the Wehrmacht forces. And this is where it would actually be very nice if Blackout were here to flank around this position, because he could be using his Panzer IV to destroy the Bofors emplacement and then just swarm him with the infantry, the elite troops that he has. He's been, you know, betting up this entire game, and, you know, that could have been good. Jagdtiger is still around because it's just not been doing anything at this point, and, you know, even though it's not been doing anything, it does have some kills, but, I mean, isn't enough to have kills. You really want to have impact. I mean, the Tiger has been having some impact. It's got 19 kills. It was in the fights. It did manage to get a lot of pressure off on the allies, but the you know, the Jagdtiger really didn't pressure in against the Su-85s. It didn't really pressure in against the Firefly on the left-hand side. So it really allowed those tank destroyers to really suppress the Axis armor. And that basically just dealt the Allied infantry a free hand to be in the area and contest the German infantry. Contesting the German infantry also by spotting for the Allied artillery. And the Allied artillery is really what won this game. I mean, even though it's a balanced preview game, nothing really too strange coming out of these teams. I mean, British SimCities and Allied artillery winning the day against, you know, German superior armor. But of course, because of the Allied artillery, the German infantry just couldn't pull through and couldn't really do too much. Interesting doctrinal usage from Jesper. He could have made use of some of the aspects of the Storm Doctrine a little bit better. Perhaps the Regal Mine is what I'm thinking about. Of course, the problem with the Regal Mine is that you can only plop it down from a half track. And considering the Allied playstyle going heavily for tank destroyers, yeah, he couldn't really make too much of a good use of that because, I mean, the tank destroyers just kind of tend to stand in the back and, you know, just kind of plop away. Rihansu, I didn't really see anything too strange out of him. He went with, you know, Grenadiers, a couple of mortars, Stugs, and then into a Tiger. Very, very standard play, and nothing really too strange coming out of him. He was very, very sloppy when it comes to the fuel play, because he was very much, like, for some reason, focused on keeping a huge reserve of fuel, which didn't really work out in his favor. Blackout, I would have loved to see a lead armored picked out of him, because, I mean, the Jagdtiger didn't really end up working in his favor all that much. I feel like going for the Sturm Tiger would have been so much better to deal with the anti-tank guns. It would have been better to deal with the emplacements, and it would have been not that great against the Su-85s, but the Jagdtiger is kind of secretly pretty good against tank destroyers because it can just kind of, especially on a map with more line-of-sight blockers, which, I mean, the End Forest isn't a map with a lot of line-of-sight blockers after a while because of all the buildings falling down. But, and also because of all the haystacks just kind of being pummeled in submission. But yes, if you can especially get an ambush shot from somewhere, then, you know, the Su-85s, who are kind of prone to sitting around and shooting from a basically safe position, if you can get, for example, a Sturm Tiger over here and aiming it over there, it can actually one-shot the Su-85. So it's very strong if it gets a good hit. Yeah, Jesper, I like this play. Unfortunately, he was very much countered by the Allied artillery, especially Viper's concentration barrage, so he couldn't make the best use out of his howitzers as, you know, he perhaps wanted to. He did manage to keep this MG42 alive the entire game, though, so that's props on him. Viper definitely played well with the way he kind of just hunkered down in one area. Perhaps he could have been more supportive of his allies, a bit like how Blackout played in the early to mid game. But overall, I like this play. What I perhaps would have liked a little bit more out of either him or some of his friends, the allies only went for one cache. And considering the sort of munitions-intensive playstyle that Viper was going for, perhaps a munitions cache would have been a good idea. Although clearly his Soviet allies, well, at least Ulumu, you know, he's got a lot of munitions. And Ted managed to make uses of the munitions by just kind of spamming around with the demo charges and the airstrikes. Airstrikes, which were, by the way, more effective because the OKW trucks right now need to pop the anti-aircraft mode in order to actually shoot down aircraft, which is actually very cool because, yeah, it was just kind of annoying that the OKW got free pass when it comes to an anti-aircraft because of the Schwer Panzer recruiters, and it's a timed ability, so it's a bit like, well, there's actually nothing really like it, but yes, it's pretty good. I like it. Is there anything else? I mean, Ted went Shock Army, pretty normal. He didn't go for an ML20, he just kind of spammed T-34s, 76s, which despite the nerf are still, as you can see, very effective. Even if you're very wasteful with them, just like Ted was. Ted was pretty wasteful with his T-34-76s, which usually means that they're not that effective. But because of the very passive playstyle of the Germans, it ended up working out. In Ululumu, very unconventional doctrine pick, but in the end he redeemed himself with the Katyushas, of course, very, very strong units still. And the Dishkas, very strong still, even though even though it were nerfed, man. You know, Dushka getting a few nerfs in the last few patches, but still a very, very effective machine gun for the Soviets. Perhaps not the best armor-piercing rounds in the world, but still quite useful. And yeah, another thing that helped out the Allies very greatly was how they managed to steal a lot of packs. Pack 40, still the best AT gun in the game. So because of that fact, because of the fact that they were able to steal some of these packs, they got a basically free pass to deal with a lot of these Panther rushes that the Germans were able to, you know, organize. And if the Germans had been a little bit more, you know, careful with their support weapons, they would have avoided a whole lot of troubles on their end in the, you know, late game. But yeah, that's just about it. So I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. I'll see you soon. If you have a replay that you want to send it to me, even on the balance bash, you can send it to my email, which is gonna be in the in the description. And yeah, drop down a like if you liked it. See you soon.